I am Selma, and numbers have always been my language. Not the kind you scribble on a napkin, but the kind that dance across spreadsheets, whispering trends and risks. As an investment analyst, I've built a life decoding those whispers, turning hunches into fortunes for clients who trust my gut. But my family? They don't see me. To them, I'm the oddball who didn't chase the spotlight, the one who'd rather crunch data than pose for their curated holiday cards. I never imagined my phone would ring at the perfect moment, shattering their carefully polished image of me. But before I tell you how that call flipped my world, let me know where you're watching from, and hit subscribe. You'll want to see how this ends. Growing up in our sprawling Connecticut home, I was the shadow in a house of mirrors. My parents, Floyd and Mavis, were obsessed with appearances. Big names, bigger bank accounts. Floyd ran a real estate empire, all flash and handshake deals, while Mavis played the perfect socialite, hosting galas that screamed old money. My sister Dottie was their golden child, a pageant queen turned influencer with a smile that could sell toothpaste to a shark. Me? I was the kid who'd rather read market reports than gossip mags. I'd sit at the dinner table, rattling off stock picks, only to watch Floyd's eyes glaze over while Mavis changed the subject to Dottie's latest photo shoot. It wasn't always like that. My grandparents, Eunice and Bert, were different. They'd sneak me into their study, where Bert would spread out financial pages and teach me to spot patterns. "Selma," he'd say, "the world's a puzzle. Solve it with your head, not your heart." Eunice would slip me cookies and whisper, "You're our dark horse." When they passed, they left me a chunk of their estate, a nest egg they believed I'd grow. But Floyd and Mavis? They saw it as a betrayal, a slight against their vision for the family. They'd always favored Dottie, showering her with praise for every minor win, prom queen, viral post, you name it, while my straight A's and internships were met with shrugs. The real kicker came last month. A letter arrived, crisp and formal, from their lawyer, Percy. My parents and Dottie were contesting my inheritance, claiming I didn't represent the family's values. Values? Like what? Dottie's sponsored bikini posts? The nerve of it burned, but it wasn't just about the money. It was about Eunice and Bert's faith in me. Their belief I could outshine the family's shallow game. I tucked the letter away, my stomach churning, knowing I'd have to face them soon. Every year we gather for their ostentatious family dinner, a stage for Floyd to boast and Mavis to preen. This time with the inheritance fight brewing, it'd be a battlefield. I'd spent years proving myself in a world that didn't care about my last name. My firm, tucked away in a modest Hartford office, was my rebellion. I'd built it from late nights and cold coffee, analyzing markets while Dottie's followers fawned over her curated life. My clients, small businesses, retirees, even a few tech startups, trusted me because I delivered. But to my family, I was still the invisible one, the daughter who didn't fit their mold. As I stared at Percy's letter, I felt the weight of their dismissal, the years of being sidelined. Yet something else stirred, a spark of defiance. I wasn't just fighting for Eunice and Bert's money, I was fighting for the version of me they believed in, the one I'd become. And soon, they'd all see it. The thing about being invisible is you get good at watching. Growing up, I'd sit at the edge of our mahogany dining table, picking at Mavis's overcooked roast, while Floyd toasted Dottie's latest triumph. I was maybe 12 when I first noticed the pattern. I'd come home with a math award, a little gold pin I'd polish to a shine, and Mavis would hum, "That's nice, Selma," before pivoting to Dottie's cheerleading routine. "Our star!" Floyd would boom, raising his glass. Dottie would preen, her curls bouncing while I sank into my chair, the pin heavy in my pocket. It wasn't jealousy, not exactly. It was the slow burn of knowing my wins didn't count. By high school, it was a ritual. I'd ace AP Calculus, land a summer gig at a local brokerage, and they'd barely blink. Meanwhile, Dottie's prom queen crown got a full dinner party. I remember one night, I was 16, bursting to share how I'd shadowed a trader and caught a market dip before he did. I practiced my story all day, thinking maybe this time Floyd would nod, maybe Mavis would smile. But when I started, Dottie cut in, gushing about her new modeling gig. "It's for a local boutique," she squealed. Mavis clapped like it was Broadway and Floyd said, "That's my girl, making the family proud." My story died in my throat. I excused myself, went upstairs, and cried into my pillow, The kind of quiet sobs you learn when you don't want to be heard. College was worse. I studied finance at UConn, grinding through late-night study sessions to graduate top of my class. At my ceremony I spotted Floyd and Mavis in the crowd. But they left early. Dottie had a brand deal photo shoot. When I called to tell them I'd landed a job at a Hartford investment firm, Mavis said, "Oh, that's practical," like I'd chosen to clean gutters. Dottie, meanwhile, got a standing ovation for hitting 10,000 Instagram followers. "She's building an empire," Floyd bragged at Thanksgiving. I wanted to scream that I was managing portfolios worth millions, but I just chewed my turkey and nodded. The worst was when I tried to share my world with them. One Christmas, I brought home a chart I'd made, tracking a stock I'd predicted would soar. It did, earning my firm a fat bonus. I thought Floyd, with his real estate swagger, might care. I slid it across the table, my hands shaky. He glanced at it, then pushed it back. "Selma, this isn't our thing. Dottie's got a new vlog series. Now that's exciting." Dottie smirked, and Mavis changed the subject to table settings. I felt like I'd been slapped. That night, I swore I'd stop trying to win them over. I'd build something they couldn't ignore, something bigger than their small, shiny world. Eunice and Bert were my lifeline. They'd call me at college asking about my classes, my trades. Bert would quiz me on market trends, chuckling when I outsmarted him. When they died, their will was a love letter. Half their savings to me, half to Dottie, with a note. "Selma, grow it. Dottie, shine." My parents were livid. "Why you?" Mavis snapped, like I'd stolen it. They didn't get that Eunice and Bert saw me, the real me. Now, with their lawyer Percy's letter in my desk drawer, contesting my share, those memories flood back. Every ignored award, every brushed-off milestone, it's fuel. They think I'm nothing, but I've been building in the dark. And soon they'll see the light. I can still pinpoint the moment it clicked. I was 25, stuck in a cubicle at my first firm, crunching numbers for a boss who thought innovation meant a new coffee machine. I'd been tracking a small biotech stock nobody cared about, digging through their trials data late at night. Something about their pipeline screamed potential, but my pitches got shrugs. One evening, bleary-eyed over my laptop, I saw it, a patent filing buried in a regulatory report. It was the key to a breakthrough drug. My gut screamed, "This is it." I didn't just want to pitch it. I wanted to bet on it. Big. That was the spark. I'd spent years playing by the rules, proving myself to people who didn't see me, including my family. But what if I built something of my own? A firm where I called the shots, where I could chase hunches like that biotech stock without someone patting my head and saying, "Stick to the safe bets, Selma." The idea was terrifying. I had a decent salary, a tiny apartment, and no safety net. Floyd and Mavis sure weren't going to cheer me on. But Eunice's voice echoed, "You're our dark horse." I quit my job the next week. The struggle was brutal. I cashed out my savings, rented a shoebox office in Hartford, and called it Vantage Point Investments. My first year I worked 18-hour days, cold calling small businesses, pitching to retirees who didn't trust some kid with their nest eggs. I'd lie awake at night second-guessing every move, my fridge stocked with ramen and desperation. But that biotech stock, I'd invested every spare dime, and when it spiked, I made my first real profit. It wasn't just money, it was proof I wasn't crazy. I reinvested, diversified, and kept digging for the next big thing. The turning point came when I landed Vernon, a tech startup founder who'd been burned by flashy Wall Street types. He liked my no-nonsense style, the way I broke down risks like a math teacher with a vendetta. I built his portfolio from scratch, blending safe bonds with bold bets on emerging tech. When one of those bets, a cybersecurity firm, got acquired for millions, Vernon's payout made headlines. Suddenly I wasn't just a nobody, clients started calling me. By year 3, Vantage Point had a waiting list, and I was managing portfolios worth more than Floyd's entire real estate empire. But I kept it quiet. No press, no social media. I didn't need the world's applause. Just results. The secrecy was deliberate. My family had a knack for twisting my wins into their narrative, and I wasn't about to let them claim this. Dottie would probably post some vague, "so proud of my sis" nonsense, and Mavis would brag about our Selma to her gala friends. No way. This was mine. Even when Percy's letter arrived, contesting my grandparents' inheritance, I didn't flinch. I'd built Vantage Point without their help, and I'd fight for Eunice and Bert's trust the same way. My firm was my secret weapon, a fortress of proof they couldn't dismiss. As I sat in my office, staring at the latest client reports, I felt a quiet thrill. Vantage Point was on the verge of something massive, a deal that could redefine my future. But first, I had to survive the family dinner, where Floyd, Mavis, and Dottie would remind me, yet again, that I didn't belong. I'm staring at my laptop, the glow of my office's only lamp casting shadows on the wall, when the email pings. It's from Vernon, my biggest client, with the subject line, "We're close." My heart skips. Vantage Point Investments is on the edge of a deal that could change everything. A partnership with a major VC firm that's been eyeing us since Vernon's cybersecurity win. If it lands, we're not just a scrappy Hartford outfit anymore. We're players. I lean back, letting the weight of it sink in. Years of late nights, of betting on myself when nobody else did, and now this. But the high fades fast. Tomorrow's the annual family dinner, and the thought of facing Floyd, Mavis, and Dottie twists my stomach like a bad trade. I close my laptop and glance at Percy's letter, still tucked in my desk drawer. My parents and sister contesting my grandparents' inheritance feels like a final slap, a way to erase Eunice and Bert's faith in me. I can picture Floyd's smug grin, Mavis's pursed lips, Dottie's fake pout as they sign the papers, convinced I don't deserve it. They don't know about Vantage Point, about the millions I've managed, the clients who swear by me. To them, I'm still the awkward kid who didn't fit their glossy world. And tomorrow, I'll walk into their Greenwich mansion, sit at their polished table, and play the part, quiet, unassuming Selma, while they parade their superiority. I try to prep like it's a client meeting. I pick out a navy blazer, professional but not flashy, and practice keeping my voice steady. I know the drill. Floyd will boast about his latest property deal, Mavis will gush over Dottie's influencer gigs, and I'll get a few pitying glances, maybe a, "How's your little job?" thrown my way. This year, though, there's a new edge. Percy's letter means they're not just ignoring me, they're actively trying to cut me out. I wonder if they'll bring it up, if they'll have the guts to say it to my face. Part of me wants them to. Let them start the fight. I've got plenty to say. As I lock up my office, I think about Eunice and Bert. They'd be proud, not just of Vantage Point, but of how I've carried their lessons. Bert's voice rings in my head. "Solve the puzzle, Selma." This dinner feels like the hardest puzzle yet, a test of whether I can keep my cool when everything in me wants to scream. I drive home, the Connecticut skyline fading into dusk, and try to focus on the deal. Vernon's email said the VC firm's final offer could come any day, maybe even tomorrow. The timing's almost poetic. While my family plays their game of favorites, I'm inches from proving them wrong in a way they can't ignore. In my apartment, I pour a glass of wine and stare at the ceiling. I don't want to go to this dinner. I don't want to smile through their jabs or pretend Percy's letter didn't cut deep. But I have to. Not for them. For me. For the Selma who built Vantage Point from nothing, who turned Eunice and Bert's trust into something real. Tomorrow I'll walk into that house, head high, and face whatever they throw. They think they know me. They don't. And soon, whether it's the deal or something else, they'll see the truth. The Greenwich mansion looms like a stage set, all white columns and manicured hedges glowing under the November dusk. I park my beat-up sedan next to Dottie's sleek convertible, already feeling like I've wandered into the wrong scene. Inside, the air smells of rosemary and money, Mavis's signature mix. She greets me at the door, her smile tight as a drum. "Selma, you made it," she says. Like I've trekked across a desert instead of I-95. Her eyes flick over my blazer, and I catch the faintest grimace before she ushers me into the dining room, where Floyd's holding court with a glass of scotch. Dottie's already there, perched like a queen, her sequin dress catching the chandelier's light. "Selma," she chirps, but her hug feels like a pat-down for contraband. Floyd grunts a hello, barely looking up from his phone, while their lawyer Percy, all pinstripes and pomade, gives me a nod that's more appraisal than welcome. The table's set for a feast, roast lamb, crystal wine glasses, the works, but it's a gauntlet, and I'm the target. I slide into my seat, the same one I've had since I was a kid, tucked at the far end like an afterthought. The first jab comes fast. Mavis, passing the mashed potatoes, says, "Selma, still at that office job?" Her tone's sweet, but it's laced with pity, like I'm sorting mail for a living. I nod, keeping my voice even. Yeah, still running my firm. Floyd snorts, not subtle. Firm? Sounds like a hobby. Dottie giggles, twirling her fork. Oh, Selma, you're so dedicated. The word lands like a slap and I grip my napkin, forcing a smile. They don't know Vantage Point's managing millions, and I'm not about to beg for their respect. The conversation shifts to Dottie, as it always does. Mavis gushes about her latest brand deal, a skincare line, apparently revolutionary. Floyd chimes in, boasting how Dottie's posts are shaping the market, whatever that means. I chew my lamb, counting breaths, while Percy nods along, scribbling notes like he's at a shareholder meeting. When I try to jump in, mentioning a recent market trend I nailed, Mavis cuts me off. Oh, that's nice, dear. Dottie, tell us about that influencer retreat. Dottie launches into a story about some Maldives villa, and I'm invisible again, just like old times. The backhanded compliments keep coming. Floyd, refilling his glass, says, Selma, you've always been independent, like it's a disease. Mavis adds, it's sweet how you stick to your little projects. Little projects? I've got a VC firm circling Vantage Point, ready to sign a deal that'd make Floyd's real estate deals look like pocket change. But I bite my tongue, knowing they're baiting me. Percy's watching, his pen pausing, and I wonder if he's waiting for me to crack. The inheritance fight hangs over the table like a storm cloud, unspoken but heavy. They haven't mentioned it yet, but every dig feels like a prelude. As dessert arrives, some fussy tart Mavis probably overpaid for, Dottie leans over, her voice dripping with fake concern. Selma, you look tired. Is your job stressful? It's a setup, a chance for her to shine while I squirm. I meet her eyes, steady. It's rewarding, I say, and for a second I think I see a flicker of unease in her smile. They're so sure I'm nothing, so convinced Dottie's their legacy. But I'm not here to play their game. I'm here to survive it, to walk out with my head high. The real fight's coming and I'm ready. The tart's barely touched when Floyd clears his throat, the kind of sound that demands silence. The dining room goes still, forks pausing mid-air, as he leans back in his chair, his scotch glass catching the chandelier's glow. Mavis folds her hands, her rings glinting, and Dottie straightens, like she's been waiting for this cue. Percy, the lawyer, pulls a folder from his briefcase, his face all business. My stomach twists. This isn't just another round of their usual jabs. Something's coming, and it's not good. Selma, Floyd starts, his voice low and deliberate, we need to talk about the family. He pauses, letting the word hang like I'm some distant cousin, not his daughter. Your grandparents' estate, Eunice and Bert's money, has caused tension. Mavis nods, her lips pursed while Dottie flicks her eyes toward me, a smirk tugging at her mouth. I keep my face blank, but my pulse is hammering. Percy slides the folder across the table, stopping just short of my plate. We've filed to contest your share, Floyd says, blunt as a hammer. It's not personal, it's about what's right for the family's legacy. Not personal? I almost laugh. My hands clench under the table, nails digging into my palms. Eunice and Bert left me that money because they believed in me, because they saw what Floyd and Mavis refused to. Now they're trying to claw it back, to hand it to Dottie, their star. Mavis chimes in, her voice syrupy. Selma, you've always done your own thing, and that's fine, but Dottie's building something visible, something that carries our name forward. Dottie bats her lashes, playing humble, but her eyes are gleaming. She's loving this. Floyd leans forward, his tone hardening. You don't represent us, Selma. Your job, your choices, they don't align with what this family stands for. He says job like it's a dirty word, and I feel the old hurt flare, the kid who begged for a nod of approval and got nothing. Percy opens the folder, revealing legal documents stamped with dates and signatures. We're proposing a redistribution, he says, calm as if he's discussing weather. Dottie's initiatives, her brand, her influence, require resources. Your share would be better, allocated. I'm stunned, not by the move, I knew it was coming, but by the coldness of it. They're not just contesting the inheritance, they're erasing me. You're disowning me, I say, my voice steady despite the fire in my chest. Floyd doesn't flinch, if that's how you want to put it. Mavis looks away, fussing with her napkin, while Dottie's smirk widens like she's won some twisted game. The room feels smaller, the air thick with their judgment. I'm the outcast, the puzzle piece that never fit, and they're finally cutting me loose. I open my mouth to fire back, to tell them about Vantage Point, about the millions I've built, the deal that's about to make their legacy look like chump change. But before I can, Percy slides another paper toward me, a formal notice of their intent. "You can fight it," he says, almost bored, "but the case is strong." Strong? They think I'm nothing, a nobody they can steamroll. The humiliation burns. Not because I doubt myself, but because they're so sure they're right. I stare at the paper, their signatures scrawled like a verdict, and feel the weight of every ignored achievement, every sidelined dream. This is their final word. I'm not their family. Not anymore. The dining room is suffocating, the weight of Floyd's words, "You don't represent us," still crushing my chest. The legal papers sit in front of me. Percy's neat handwriting spelling out my erasure. Mavis avoids my eyes, Dottie's smirk is practically a neon sign, and Floyd sips his scotch like he's just closed a deal. I'm about to speak, to unleash years of pent-up truth, when my phone buzzes in my pocket. Not a text. A call. I glance at the screen. Vernon. My heart lurches. This is about the VC deal, the one that could catapult Vantage Point into the stratosphere. I hesitate, but something tells me to answer. I stand, mumbling, "I need to take this," and step into the foyer, their eyes burning holes in my back. "Selma," Vernon's voice crackles, urgent. "It's done. The VC firm signed $20 million, full partnership, and they want you leading the strategy." I grip the phone, my knees weak. $20 million. My scrappy firm, built from ramen-fueled nights, just landed a deal bigger than anything Floyd's ever touched. Vernon's still talking, terms, timelines, but I'm half listening, the dining room's glow spilling through the doorway. "Selma, you there?" he asks. "Yeah," I manage, my voice steady despite the adrenaline. "I'm here, I'll call you back." I hang up, my pulse roaring, and turn back to the table. They're watching me, curiosity cutting through their smugness. "Work?" Mavis asks, her tone dripping with condescension, like I'm answering a call center hotline. I slide back into my seat, the phone warm in my hand, and feel a shift. This is it, the moment I've been waiting for, even if I didn't know it. "Yeah," I say, casual, letting the silence stretch. Floyd raises an eyebrow, waiting for me to shrink back into my role as the forgettable daughter. But I don't. "That was my partner," I start, my voice clear. "Vantage Point just closed a $20 million deal with a VC firm. They're backing us to lead their investment strategy." The room freezes. Floyd's glass stops mid-air, Mavis's mouth parts like a fish, and Dottie's smirk vanishes, replaced by a blank stare. Percy's pen hovers over his notebook, his calm lawyer mask slipping. I keep going, my words measured but sharp. "I've been running my own investment firm for years, managing portfolios worth more than this house. Clients trust me with their futures, and now so does one of the biggest VC firms in the country." I lean forward, meeting Floyd's eyes. "That's what I've been doing while you've been calling my work a hobby." Dottie recovers first, her laugh forced. "Wait, you? A big deal? Come on, Selma." But her voice wavers, and Mavis shoots her a look, like she's begging her to shut up. Floyd sets his glass down, hard. "You never mentioned this," he says, almost accusing, like I owe him a resume. "Why would I?" I shoot back. "You've never cared. You've spent years praising Dottie's selfies while I built something real." Mavis flinches, but I don't stop. "Eunice and Bert saw it. They trusted me to grow their money, not to play your game of who looks prettiest on Instagram." The silence is deafening. Percy scribbles something, probably calculating how this changes their inheritance stunt. Dottie's face is red, her perfect poise crumbling. Floyd's jaw tightens, but he doesn't speak. For the first time, they're not in control. I feel the power of it, the years of being invisible flipping into something else, something undeniable. I'm not just their outcast daughter. I'm Selma, the woman who built an empire they can't touch. The dining room feels like a stage after the curtains dropped, everyone frozen in the wreckage of my words. Floyd's knuckles are white around his glass, Mavis's hands flutter to her necklace, and Dottie's staring at her plate like it holds the script she's lost. Percy's the only one moving, snapping his folder shut with a crisp thud. My phone's still warm in my hand, Vernon's call echoing in my head. 20 million, a deal that dwarfs their world. I could sit back, let them stew, but I'm done playing their game. It's time to tear the mask off their hypocrisy. "You're surprised," I say, my voice calm but cutting, "but you shouldn't be." I look at Floyd, his face a mix of shock and something like betrayal, as if I've cheated by succeeding. You've spent years acting like I'm nothing, like my work doesn't matter because it doesn't come with a spotlight. Mavis opens her mouth, but I raise a hand, stopping her. No, let me finish. You praised Dottie for every post, every shallow win, while I was out there building something real, something Eunice and Bert believed in. Dottie flinches, her perfect nails digging into her napkin. I turn to her, not backing down. Dottie, you've got your followers, your brand deals, and that's fine. But don't pretend it's more than it is. I've been managing millions, growing businesses, securing futures. And you? I pause, letting the question hang. You're fighting for an inheritance you didn't earn because you think it's owed to you. Her eyes flash, but she doesn't speak. She can't. The truth's too heavy. Floyd finds his voice, gruff and defensive. Selma, you never told us. How were we supposed to know? It's a weak dodge, and I'm not buying it. You didn't want to know, I snap. Every time I tried, every award, every milestone, you shut me down. You chose your version of me. The failure, the outcast. But that's not who I am. I point to Percy's folder, the inheritance papers. And now you're trying to take what Eunice and Bert gave me, because it doesn't fit your story. That's not a legacy, that's greed. Mavis gasps, clutching her pearls, literally. Selma, that's unfair. We're protecting the family name. I laugh, sharp and cold. The family name? You mean your image. Eunice and Bert's name is in every deal I close, every client I help. You don't get to steal that because Dottie's got more likes. Percy shifts, uncomfortable, as Floyd's face reddens. They're scrambling, realizing their plan's unraveling. Dottie tries to pivot, her voice sugary. Selma, we're proud of you, really. Maybe we can work together, collab? It's desperate. And I see it for what it is, a grab for relevance. I stand, pushing my chair back, the scrape loud in the silence. No, Dottie, I don't need your collabs or your approval. I look at each of them. Floyd's clenched jaw, Mavis's trembling hands, Percy's averted eyes. I've spent years chasing your validation, but I'm done. Eunice and Bert saw me, my clients see me, and now, the world will too. I grab my coat from the foyer, my steps steady, their stunned faces burned into my mind. As I reach the door, Floyd calls, Selma, wait, but I don't turn back. I step into the cold night, the mansion's glow fading behind me. For the first time I feel free, not from them, but from the version of me they tried to lock in place. The real Selma's just getting started. The cold November air bites as I drive away from the Greenwich mansion, my hands steady on the wheel despite the adrenaline still pulsing through me. The weight of Floyd's verdict, Mavis's fake tears and Dottie's crumbling facade feels like a bad dream left behind in that chandelier-lit dining room. I don't head home. Instead, I point my car toward Hartford, to a dive bar called Rusty's, where Vernon and my mentor Gretchen are waiting. They're my real family. The ones who've seen me at my scrappiest and still bet on me. Tonight, after that dinner, I need their kind of warmth. Rusty's is all chipped wood and neon beer signs, the opposite of my parents' sterile opulence. Vernon's at a corner booth, his flannel shirt rolled up, nursing a stout. Gretchen's next to him, her silver hair pulled back, her sharp eyes softening when she spots me. There's our rock star, Vernon calls, sliding a glass of red my way. I drop into the booth, the vinyl creaking, and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. That bad? Gretchen asks, reading my face like she always does. I nod, taking a sip, the wine grounding me. I spill it all. The dinner, the inheritance fight, Percy's papers, and how I dropped the Vantage Point bombshell. Vernon laughs when I mimic Dottie's panicked collab offer, slapping the table. She thought she could insta-filter her way into your deal? Classic. Gretchen's quieter, her gaze steady. You stood up to them, she says. That's not just business, that's courage. Her words hit deep. Gretchen's been my North Star since I interned at her firm, the one who taught me to trust my instincts. She doesn't praise lightly. We order wings, the spicy tang cutting through the night's tension, and the contrast to the mansion's fussy tart makes me smile. There, I was an outsider, dodging jabs while Floyd and Mavis played favorites. Here, I'm just Selma, swapping stories with people who get it. Vernon recounts how he almost tanked his startup before I rebuilt his portfolio, and Gretchen shares a tale from her trading days when she outsmarted a room of suits who underestimated her. It's easy, real, no posturing, no hidden agendas. I think of Eunice and Bert, how they'd fit right in. Bert probably challenging Vernon to a dart game. As the bar hums around us, jukebox crooning, glasses clinking. I realize this is what family should be. Not blood, but belief. Vernon and Gretchen didn't just cheer my wins, they stuck by me through the losses, the late nights when I doubted everything. Floyd's voice echoes, "You don't represent us," but it's losing its sting. I look at Vernon, grinning as he steals a wing, and Gretchen, sketching a market trend on a napkin to make a point, and I feel anchored. They represent me, and I them. The night stretches, and we toast to the VC deal, to Vantage Point's future. To Selma, Gretchen says, raising her glass, who built an empire and still showed up to that circus. We laugh, and for the first time in hours my shoulders relax. The mansion with its cold judgment feels a world away. Here in this sticky booth, I'm home, not because of where I am, but because of who I'm with. They're my chosen family, and no legal paper or family name can take that away. The buzz from Rusty's lingers as I wake up the next morning, my apartment quiet except for the hum of the coffee maker. Last night's high, Vernon's cheers, Gretchen's steady pride, feels like armor, but I know the fight's not over. My phone's already lighting up with texts from Mavis, a string of "we need to talk" and "let's not be rash." Dottie's posted a vague Instagram story, a sunset with some quote about family first, probably fishing for sympathy. Floyd's silent, but I bet he's stewing, his ego bruised by my exit. They're circling, trying to claw their way back into my orbit, now that Vantage Point's deal has made me undeniable. But I'm not the Selma who'd crumble for their approval. It's time to set boundaries, my way. As the bar hums around us, jukebox crooning, glasses clinking, I realize this is what family should be. Not blood, but belief. Vernon and Gretchen didn't just cheer my wins, they stuck by me through the losses, the late nights when I doubted everything. Floyd's voice echoes, "You don't represent us," but it's losing its sting. I look at Vernon grinning as he steals a wing, and Gretchen sketching a market trend on a napkin to make a point, and I feel anchored. They represent me, and I them. The night stretches, and we toast to the VC deal, to Vantage Point's future. To Selma, Gretchen says, raising her glass, who built an empire and still showed up to that circus. We laugh, and for the first time in hours, my shoulders relax. The mansion, with its cold judgment, feels a world away. Here in this sticky booth, I'm home, not because of where I am, but because of who I'm with. They're my chosen family, and no legal paper or family name can take that away. The buzz from Rusty's lingers as I wake up the next morning, my apartment quiet except for the hum of the coffee maker. Last night's high, Vernon's cheers, Gretchen's steady pride, feels like armor, but I know the fight's not over. My phone's already lighting up with texts from Mavis, a string of "we need to talk" and "let's not be rash." Dottie's posted a vague Instagram story, a sunset with some quote about family first, probably fishing for sympathy. Floyd's silent, but I bet he's stewing, his ego bruised by my exit. They're circling, trying to claw their way back into my orbit now that Vantage Point's deal has made me undeniable. But I'm not the Selma who'd crumble for their approval. It's time to set boundaries my way. I start with Percy's letter, still on my desk. I call my own lawyer, Nadine, a no-nonsense woman who's been with me since Vantage Point's early days. "They've got no case," she says, her voice crackling through the speaker. "Eunice and Bert's will is ironclad, and your track record buries their legacy argument." She's drafting a response, one that'll make Percy rethink his strategy. I hang up, feeling lighter. The inheritance is mine, not because of greed, right, but because it's what my grandparents wanted. I won't let Floyd and Mavis rewrite their trust. Next I tackle the family directly. Mavis's texts are piling up, so I reply, short and clear. "I'm not discussing the inheritance, respect my space." I mute her number, then Dottie's, and block Floyd for good measure. It's not petty, it's survival. They've spent years dismissing me, and now they want a piece of my success? No. I picture Mavis clutching her pearls, Dottie refreshing her follower count for validation, and feel a strange calm. Their world doesn't own me anymore. At the office, I focus on what matters. Vernon's emailed the VC firm's contract, pages of legalese that spell out Vantage Point's future. I dive in, marking clauses, emailing Nadine for input. My team, 6 analysts who've become my extended family, hustles around me, prepping for the partnership. We're not just a firm, we're a machine, built on trust and results. When I tell them about the dinner, leaving out the ugliest bits, they rally. Your family sounds like a soap opera, my analyst Corey says, grinning. You're better off with us. He's right. This is my fortress, and I'm not letting anyone breach it. By afternoon, I get a call from an unknown number, probably Mavis using a friend's phone. I let it go to voicemail. The message is her usual mix of guilt and charm. Selma, we're family, let's work this out. I delete it. Family doesn't disown you over a will, doesn't belittle your life's work. I think of Eunice and Bert, their quiet faith in me, and know I'm honoring them by drawing this line. If Floyd and Mavis want forgiveness, they'll have to earn it, and I'm not holding my breath. As the day winds down, I sit at my desk, the Hartford skyline gray through the window. The boundaries I've set, legal, emotional, personal, feel like a new foundation. I'm not cutting my family off out of spite. I'm choosing myself, my work, my allies. Vernon texts about grabbing beers later, and Gretchen sends a link to a market report with a note, "Keep slaying." I smile, my resolve hardening. This is my life now, built on my terms. Let Floyd and Mavis play their games. I've got a deal to close, and a legacy to protect, one they'll never understand. The VC deal closes on a crisp Monday, the ink still fresh on a contract that makes Vantage Point a name to watch. My office is a whirlwind, my team toasting with cheap coffee, Vernon slapping my back like we've won the lottery, and Nadine emailing confirmation that Percy's inheritance challenge is dead in the water. I should be riding the high, but I'm thinking about Eunice and Bert, how their faith in me started this. They didn't just give me money, they gave me a mission. Now with my family's rejection behind me and Vantage Point soaring, it's time to make their name mean something bigger than Floyd's ego or Mavis's galas. I start small but deliberate. I set up a scholarship fund in Eunice and Bert's name, aimed at kids like I was, quiet, nerdy, overlooked. It's not flashy, but it's real. Full rides for finance majors at UConn, with mentorship from my team. I picture Bert grinning, his old market reports spread out, saying, "Solve the puzzle, Selma." This is my solution. Lifting others while carrying his lessons forward. When I announce it at a local community event, the applause feels different from Floyd's hollow toasts. These people, strangers, see the impact. A few students approach me after, eyes bright, and I feel a spark of what Eunice must have felt watching me grow. Next, I funnel part of Vantage Point's profits into local businesses, the kind my parents would have snubbed. A Hartford bakery, a tech co-op run by single moms, a bookstore fighting to stay open. I invest, not just money, but time, helping them scale. Corey, my analyst, jokes I'm saving the world one balance sheet at a time, but it's more than that. It's rewriting the family legacy, stripping it of Mavis's shallow shine and Dottie's selfie filters. At a ribbon cutting for the co-op, a woman named Lila grips my hand, tears in her eyes, and says, "You're giving us a shot." That's worth more than any inheritance. I don't stop there. I launch a free financial literacy series teaching retirees and small business owners how to protect their money. Gretchen leads a session, her no-nonsense style packing the room. One guy, a mechanic named Walt, tells me he avoided a bad loan because of my advice. "You're one of us," he says, and I realize he's right. I'm not Floyd's daughter here, not Dottie's shadow. I'm Selma, building something that lasts. Every step, every scholarship, every investment feels like reclaiming Eunice and Bert's name, making it stand for trust, not flash. My family's absence is loud but not painful. Mavis sends a letter, handwritten, full of "we miss you" platitudes, but I file it away unanswered. Dottie posts a cryptic video about growth, and I scroll past. Floyd's silent, probably licking his wounds. They're not my legacy anymore. At night, I sit in my office, the skyline glittering, and think about how far I've come. Vantage Point's success isn't just numbers. It's proof I didn't need their validation. I built this, and now I'm using it to build more, for people who deserve it. As I lock up, I catch my reflection in the glass door. I look like someone who belongs, not to a mansion but to this life I've carved out. Eunice and Bert would be proud, not just of the money I've grown, but of the good it's doing. Their name, my name, it's mine to define now. And I'm just getting started. I'm alone in my apartment, the Hartford skyline a soft glow through the window, my coffee gone cold on the counter. It's been weeks since the VC deal closed, since Nadine buried Percy's inheritance challenge, since I walked out of that Greenwich mansion and left Floyd, Mavis, and Dottie in their stunned silence. The scholarships are rolling, the community investments are thriving, and Vantage Point's humming like a well-oiled machine. But tonight, it's just me. No team, no allies, just the quiet of my own thoughts, and for the first time I'm not running from them. I think about the girl I was, the one who clutched math awards and begged for a nod from Floyd, who cried when Mavis brushed her off for Dottie's glittery wins. That Selma thought love was something you earned, something you proved with trophies or applause. I carried that weight for years, chasing validation from people who'd already written me off. Even building Vantage Point, part of me was still trying to show them I was enough. But now, sitting here, I see it clearly. Their approval was never the prize. My worth isn't in their eyes or anyone's, it's in me. I walked to my desk, pulling out a photo I keep tucked away. Eunice and Bert, grinning in their study, financial pages spread out like a treasure map. They didn't love me because I was good with numbers, they loved me because I was theirs. Their faith wasn't a test, it was a gift. I trace their faces, my throat tight, and realize I've been carrying them with me, not as a burden, but as a light. Every deal I've closed, every kid I've funded, every business I've lifted, it's all them, and it's all me. That's the legacy. Not some mansion or a contested will. The peace settles deep, like a long exhale. I don't need Floyd's grunt of approval, Mavis's fake smiles, or Dottie's filtered praise. I don't need to prove I'm better than their version of me. I'm Selma, the woman who built an empire from nothing, who turned pain into purpose. The scholarships, the investments, the lives I'm touching, they're not just good deeds, they're my truth. I'm enough, not because of what I've done, but because of who I am. And for the first time, I believe it. I step onto my balcony, the night air sharp, the city alive below. There's no anger left, no ache for what I never had. Floyd and Mavis can keep their world. Dottie can chase her likes. I've got my own, built on grit and heart, surrounded by people like Vernon and Gretchen who see me. I think of Eunice's cookies, Bert's puzzles, and smile. They'd tell me I've solved it, not just the markets but the bigger game, finding peace in my own skin. I lean against the railing, the stars faint but there, and know I'm home. Have you ever felt like you had to prove your worth to someone who'd already made up their mind about you? I've been there. Fighting to be seen in a family that didn't get me, only to realize the real victory was seeing myself. My journey, from an overlooked kid to a woman who built her own empire, wasn't about their approval. It was about finding peace in my own choices, my own value. I'd love to hear your stories. Drop them in the comments. What's a moment you broke free from someone else's expectations? If my journey resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to define success on their own terms. You don't need anyone's permission to be enough. You already are.